Is it the intent of the chair to vote out HB 1 as is, based on public testimony and comments coming from around the dais? Will there be an opportunity to amend HB 1 in this committee? And if there will be an opportunity to amend, at what point will that amendment process take place? Or is it the intent of the chair simply to vote out HB 1 as it is?
Well, as I said, we will, if we can get the Senate bill over, we will substitute the language that we have agreed to, this committee has agreed to, and we will vote on Senate Bill 1. So then we can, if there's even further amendments, we will amend that on the floor.
Okay, so in terms of amending the Senate bill, in terms of the amendment process, when will that? What will be the day?
I'm sure we can amend the bill on Saturday, or we can amend it or on the floor when it comes out.
Okay, and is it the intent to listen to the public testimony and based on what we are hearing to make any sort of changes to the bill that would correspond, or are we simply going to be listening to the public just to be listening to the public with the intent that we're going to stay with what we have, irrespective of what we hear from the public?
We're going to be listening to the public on HB 1 as filed, and then we will get a committee substitute if that's what the committee wants to do.
Right. And the reason why I asked the question, I talked to 3 of my 4 superintendents yesterday. I was in Houston and talked with a number of individuals about coming up here. They have no desire to come to Austin, and to take the time to testify if it's the intent of the House and the Senate simply to vote out an existing bill, irrespective of what their views or sentiments may be. They view that as a waste of time. And so I know we're on a very quick schedule, and I know this is a special, but public school finance is so critically important that I think people would rather get it right than to pass it fast. And so my concern is this. I know we're having public testimony today in the House and the Senate, but if it's the intent of the House and the Senate simply to pass out these bills as they are, irrespective of what people say or irrespective of what we hear, then there is no need to have public testimony. We may as well proceed in a formal hearing and vote the bills out and get them to the floor. Otherwise, I would suggest that we slow this process down because this is graduation season, and many of the superintendents indicated to me that they have their graduations. The teachers are preparing for their graduations. Many of their graduations are taking place tomorrow, and we are dealing with an issue that directly impacts them. And so if it's the intent of the House and the Senate, the leadership, to move forward with the existing bills, then I think we need to be upfront and very candid with the general public and move accordingly.
So that's true. I wouldn't have scheduled 3 days of public hearings if we weren't going to listen to the people. And we will vote a bill out of this committee that the majority of people in this committee want to vote on.
Well, I recognize, I know how to count, Mr. Chairman, and I recognize the majority. But trust me, I do recognize the majority, but I am now more interested in the general public. That since we are opening up to the general public, I want us to at least be able to, in good faith, say to the general public that their time is respected and their time is valuable and their comments are valuable. And based on what we hear from them, this committee in both the House and the Senate will take their comments under advisement. But based on what I'm hearing and the timeline that's involved, I'm questioning whether or not the input from the general public is going to be weighed in this process, especially, I didn't call the special session.
I didn't either.
And the special session was called in the last week of most public schools who are now having graduations. And again, the only point that I'm making is that, that old saying, to thine own self be true. Let's just be very clear and true to one another. And that is, if it's the intent to pass out HB1, pretty much similar to 1811 as is, I understand it, I got it, I get it, and then we'll just wait until we get to the House floor and make an attempt to make any changes. But I do recognize the numbers, I recognize the majority, and I recognize the power that the majority has.